Even if you track crypto daily now, think back to the very first time you heard about Bitcoin.
Yeah, that initial reaction.
Most of us, we initially dismissed it as just nerd money.
Oh, absolutely.
And if that was your reaction, you are actually in very good company. Because when the author of our source material today, Andreas M. Antonopoulos, first encountered it in 2011,
Completely ignored it.
yeah, for 6 whole months.
It is a remarkably common retrospective among people in this space. But when he finally read the original white paper, he had this profound epiphany.
Which brings us to the mission of our deep dive today.
Right.
We are looking at Antonopoulos' book, Mastering Bitcoin, to strip away the dense jargon and really explore the architecture of this system, not just as digital cash, but as a revolutionary, decentralized trust network.
Exactly.
Here's where it gets really interesting. If you look at the cover of the book, you don't see coins or computer chips.
Yeah.
You see a picture of leafcutter ants.
Which initially seems like a completely bizarre choice for a highly technical manual.
It does until you examine how leafcutter ants actually operate.
Right, because they form these massive, complex superorganisms that successfully farm fungus to feed their entire colony. But they do it entirely without a central leader.
There is no queen dictating orders.
None. The sophistication of the colony emerges purely from simple individuals interacting based on very basic rules.
That becomes a brilliant visual metaphor for the Bitcoin network.
It really does.
It's a highly resilient system made up of simple nodes, all just following basic mathematical rules to construct a sophisticated, decentralized architecture.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, this elegant structure actually solves a famous concept in computer science called the Byzantine generals problem.
Right.
It's the historical challenge of getting a distributed network to agree on a single truth without relying on a central clearinghouse.
Because the network achieves this trusted consensus by mathematically incentivizing miners to solve cryptographic puzzles.
Exactly. They effectively secure the network just by following those basic rules.
To actively participate in that consensus, though, you obviously need a wallet.
Right.
Our source touches on the various formats, whether you are using mobile and desktop applications, dedicated hardware devices, or
Even printing out your cryptographic keys for cold storage on paper.
paper wallets. But what really stands out is the fundamental mental shift required to interact with this network.
The irreversibility.
Right. Unlike traditional credit cards, Bitcoin transactions are strictly irreversible.
And that irreversibility is a core feature of a trustless design. Because there is no central server, there is no customer service hotline to reverse a transaction if you make an error.
It inherently protects merchants from chargeback fraud, but it demands a completely different level of user awareness.
It does.
But wait, if it's strictly irreversible, doesn't that make it incredibly dangerous for the average consumer making a simple mistake?
That is the ultimate trade-off for true ownership. The cryptographic keys give you absolute control over your assets.
Which inherently means you take on absolute responsibility.
Exactly. You are essentially acting as your own bank.
Okay, let's unpack this with a routine transaction from the book. Imagine a user named Alice buying a cup of coffee for $1.50 at Bob's Cafe in Palo Alto.
That's about 0.015 Bitcoin.
Right, so she scans the QR code at the register. What is actually happening under the hood?
What's fascinating here is that the transaction behaves much like double-entry bookkeeping. Every transfer relies on inputs and outputs.
The unspent transaction output model.
It's a UTXO model, right?
Yeah.
Just like handing Bob a physical $20 bill for a small coffee, the input cannot be divided.
You wouldn't expect Bob to just keep the 20?
No, you'd expect exact change.
Since the input can't be divided, the network has to route that exact change back to Alice. But does it just send the remainder back to the original address she paid from?
Actually, no. The wallet software automatically routes the remainder to a newly generated change address.
Oh, to enhance her privacy on a public ledger.
Exactly. It's built right in. And during that routing, there is a slight mathematical difference built into the transaction. The outputs will add up to just slightly less than the inputs,
And that hidden difference is the fee collected by the miner who processes the transaction.
which ties right back to mathematically incentivizing the consensus model we talked about earlier.
So what does this all mean? Why should you care about the granular mechanics of Alice buying her morning coffee?
Because this isn't really about the coffee at all.
Right. It's about participating in a system where you can conclusively prove ownership and transfer value across a completely borderless, trustless internet.
And this raises an important question for you to ponder long after we wrap up.
Yeah.
If this decentralized trust model can successfully remove the middleman from global finance.
What other central authorities in your everyday life could this technology eventually replace?
Think about voting systems, property rights, or even your digital identity.
If we no longer need a central clearinghouse for trust, the implications are just massive.